My name is Tim, and I'm ready to go when you guys are. Ready? Between the summer between my 6th and 7th grade, I went to a bar mitzvah, and at the bar mitzvah, I met all these people that I went to middle school with that I had never met before. And there was some pretty cool people, and once it was over, we started walking home. And I decided to walk home with all these people that I really didn't know that well, but it was because I had met this woman, or a girl, at the bar mitzvah. She was at my table. And so on the walk home, I kind of started talking with her. And at the bar mitzvah, I sensed that she kind of liked talking to me, and I liked talking to her. And it was like the first time that I realized that I really liked when people liked me. And so we kind of were walking down these railroad tracks back to where we were going, or where they were going. I was like 3 miles away from where I had to go. But I was just going to walk home. I didn't care because I was liking this conversation. So we kind of dropped back from the group, and now we're kind of on our own walking on the railroad tracks. And that's when I realized I love talking to her. Like, I want to talk to her, and she wants to talk to me, and I can sense that she's enjoying it too. So at the end of the walk home, I make up a story that I'm going to be coming back to the neighborhood the next day to hang out with one of her neighbors, and that I'll be riding my bike through the neighborhood around lunchtime if she would maybe look for me. So she said, yeah, I'll look for you. And that was basically my first date setup. So the next day, I drove my bike down there, and I rode around the block literally for 2 hours. And she eventually came out, and her mother came to the door with her, and she walked down. And, you know, just like a little kid, I dropped my bike. Hey. And so we, proceeded to go right back to the railroad tracks where we had originally walked home. And it was near our school. And we sat on this bridge, and we talked and talked and talked for like about an hour. And we were sitting on this bridge, and she ended up moving kind of down off the bridge. And she ended up kind of leaning against the bridge with her back to me. And I could feel kind of her body against my body. And I was really liking talking to her. But it was also kind of weird because that quiet silence where you're like, I'm touching, and we're just, what? You're not really talking that much anymore. So I ended up kind of like touching the sides of her rib cage and kind of like just having small talk and talking and touching her rib cage, and it's that quiet like, okay. And so we end up switching positions somehow, and I'm now leaning against her, and I can feel, because she has breasts, and I can feel like her body against me, and she ends up kind of like touching my sides and kind of like touching my belly a little bit. And I've never been with a girl. I had not masturbated. I didn't know anything about what I was feeling, but I was like, this is pretty good. I like her. But it started because she really could hear me. She liked what I was saying, and we laughed. So we started walking back towards her house from the railroad tracks through the woods. And on the way back through the woods, I don't know how it happened, but we ended up kissing. And we ended up kind of kissing in this pathway, and somehow we ended up moving to a little kind of grassy area that was open, and we laid down, and we ended up like basically kissing for like an hour, basically learning how to kiss together. And it was this thing where like she knew she liked me and I knew I liked her, but we weren't in love or anything. It was just like, holy crap, like you can kiss and I can kiss, and whoa, this is really good. But it wasn't like one kiss run. It was like we were making out. And so we ended up taking off all of our clothes. And so now we're in the woods, naked, like basically looking at each other, and then kissing and kind of holding each other, and she can feel me and my excitement against her, and I can kind of feel her, but I'm not like touching her. I don't know what to do, but I now kind of know how to kiss. I've kissed for a couple hours now. I can do that. So it's pretty intimate. But this is in the middle of the day in the woods, like whatever. So, needless to say, that was a big experience for us. And so we walked back to her house, and I ended up saying goodbye or whatever. But throughout that summer, I would go back and visit her at night. Like at dusk, I'd go to her house, and we'd basically go out to the woods and take off all our clothes and make out. It was an unbelievable summer. And we were really falling for each other. Like, we talked a lot, and we were into each other, but also we liked going out, in the woods and taking off all our clothes. And so now I'm like at her house, and I know the family, and is that 30 seconds left?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I started basically going to her house, and her parents knew me, and we kind of had like a legit date night where we're actually going to watch a movie. And finally, Purple Rain had come out on VHS. Oh, So we're going to watch Purple Rain. And at this point, we've been hugging and naked, but we haven't touched our private areas or anything. It's just, we didn't know any better. It was like, this is awesome, but nothing's happening. But man, you look awesome naked, you know? And so we're watching Purple Rain, and it's that scene where Prince is taking Apollonia around on his motorcycle, and they're like cruising around. It's all that like kind of foggy, white, sexy kind of film, and it's definitely pretty good. And I have like kind of my arm around her, and I have my hand on her kind of hip on her side, and I'm kind of like touching her breast. And I'd been touching her breast already, but still it was pretty exciting. And she's kind of rubbing my leg, and eventually she kind of like starts to get a little bit closer to my erection, and I'm like, I don't know, I wanted to touch it, but I don't really know if it's what's going on anyway. So she's basically become more and more daring, and she's like just a little bit away from it. She just keeps kind of rubbing very closely to it, and so she ends up kind of touching me, and it's this kind of wild feeling between both of us, like she's finally doing it and I'm like, holy crap. And at some point I realized like that I'm probably going to either throw up or go to the bathroom, or I'm going to like sneeze in my crotch area or something. And so pretty much in the next like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, I'm like holding on, like what the hell is happening? And at this point I end up having an orgasm, and both of us don't really know what had happened and what happened. Am I done? Anyway, so hold on. So sometimes I feel like I'm from that little patch of grass, and sometimes I feel like I'm on the couch.